Ollie, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think? Which industry will invest most money into mobile robots in the next 5 years?
I suppose it must be an industry with a lot of standardization, like automotive.
Could be. And that's why let's take a look at this question in the next episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.
Welcome back. So after our ventures on the Intralogistics Test Camp, we are back in our home studio, or a home turf, let's call it that way. And I'm very happy to be here again with Oliver Zuchowski. Oli, hope you got the chance to digest all of this great input that we got last week.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I learned a lot about the VDA 50/50 topic, which was exciting. And yeah, I had a lot to digest.
I can imagine. And we're going to dive into the software topics way more in the upcoming episodes. But for today, we are back to a quite general question, which is which industry is most suitable to be automized using mobile robots? And I actually pulled some figures and Googled it. And I found a really good report on that, again by STIQ. We've been mentioning our colleagues time and again, and we really appreciate what you guys do. And they also have some numbers on that. And actually, the growth in 2023, when it comes to mobile robot numbers, was highest in automotive.
Oh, I was right.
Yes, but that's the past, not the future.
Okay.
So in the past, automotive was number one. Secondly, and now I have to look to my notes, we have new energy, which is all about solar systems, batteries, etc.
Okay.
They've been on a second position. Then they list food and beverage as a third one, which is kind of clear, I would say. At least one has heard about use cases in this industry. Then electronics.
Sure.
Also classic. We then have retail warehouse on a, I would say, surprisingly fifth position.
That's strange.
Yeah. And we also have, as a last one here, is hospitals.
That's for sure a new topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly a new topic. And maybe also a rising one. I don't know. Let's discuss. But certainly, and this is something I can agree to, mobile robots or industries with a lot of standardization, a lot of also maybe correlation to tech times are the most suitable ones for mobile robots. That's
by nature.
By nature, it's basically a no-brainer because the better the process hygiene, the easier actually to replace humans and using a robot for it, which can really adhere to very clear standards, very clear requirements that are already defined.
So thinking about our past episodes, we said that exactly for this environments, typical AGVs are, the best option, right?
Yep. Right. So now, that's the past. How would you rate the future now? So who's gonna invest most in the 5 years?
Yeah, the ones who see now that these devices are running, that the solutions are really beneficial, and I suppose industries which were not in your top of your list.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a mixing and a different ranking, at least according to McKinsey, who have also published a really nice report, and that is called the McKinsey Global Industrial Robotics Survey. So definitely something we can recommend as a read. And according to McKinsey, logistics and fulfillment will spend most money on mobile robots in the next 5 years. It's going to be roughly 34% of their total capital spending.
Yeah, because there a lot of manpower is inside at the moment still.
Right. And many processes are still also quite standardized. Let's just imagine one of these warehouses we've been visiting in the past, where you have like this goods receipt area,
Yeah.
where there's like forklifts loading and unloading trucks, unloading trucks in that case. And then there is a handover spot, then there's another forklift taking over and bringing it to some kind of automatic storage solution. And then once it's retrieved, again, there is a robot or a forklift, of course, picking it and bringing it to some other dispatch area, for example. So a lot of manual processes, but also quite standardized processes, right?
Yes, and on a meta level, all of these warehouses look the same. So if you find a good solution or you have a good solution, you can use them in all of these warehouses for the specific use case.
Yeah, it's copy and paste, right?
Exactly.
Because I can totally agree to what you say that many logistics companies, they would always try to run with one warehouse layout, for example, or one distribution location layout, simply to standardize as much as they can. So there is really a great foundation already given. But the question is, why haven't they invested that much in the past?
That's a good question. I suppose there are some fears and risks they see in automation. Like, what happens if the mobile robots will not work? Yeah, in this, if you are not fulfilling customer demands, you immediately lose money. And the most important KPI for a warehouse is, have I fulfilled all the demands in time?
Yeah, true. Certainly the KPI drivers for logistics, but I also think that with logistics being a very low margin business, the high invests you had to take in the past to implement mobile robots were one of the biggest obstacles for them to really go into it. And I assume that now with the mobile robots getting cheaper and cheaper, this obstacle this hurdle is getting lower and lower for the logistics industry to go into this automation direction.
Yes. And usually, a warehouse has to run. And in a warehouse, you don't have logistics engineers working on a lot of process improvements, going to exhibitions looking for new devices. You need already some kind of frame organization taking care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, or to the extent I know warehouses, usually they don't have this expertise and they don't have the capacity to even think about automation.
Yeah. Which is, again, a problem of the low margin business.
Yes.
Since they try to keep their overheads as small as possible, really focusing on operations topics and not so much maybe on research and know-how exchange in different directions. But that's just our thoughts. So if you are from the logistics industry and you have better arguments why the logistics industry hasn't been a driver for mobile robots in the last years, then please let us know. We are happy to learn about it.
So, Matthias, what is happening with the other industries? You mentioned healthcare, for
Yes.
example, hospitals, I suppose. What about also restaurants, hotels? Are they on your list?
Actually, they are not. But
Okay, wow.
maybe the reason is that McKinsey was checking the industrial
Ah,
robotics
okay,
survey.
right. Yeah.
So they excluded these businesses basically. But I can fully agree that these are businesses where automation will also come, and it's probably going to come big time because
Yeah.
again here there is a lot of standardized processes that can be automated quite easily, I would say.
And at least from what I see walking around or traveling, you see more and more of these like nice and friendly mobile robots bringing you food, coffee, or even in hotels. You order stuff and a mobile robot will ring the bell and provide it to you. And it's happening more and more. I mean, I don't have real figures here,
Yeah,
so there is something happening.
yeah, yeah. That's also my gut feeling. So a couple of months back, I've been in a hotel in Berlin, the Arc Hotel in Berlin. Also kudos to the staff and the management for taking the decision. But they have actually a mobile robot bringing you drinks and food to the hotel room. So you basically call it by your phone, like this hotel room phone. There is like a very friendly robot voice answering, and he basically takes your order. He's coming to your room, and then again calls the phone in the hotel room, telling you that he's in front of your door. Then you step out of the door and you pick whatever you want, and he's then, of course, registering whatever you took and is passing it on automatically to the the booking system of the hotel, so they can charge you. Quite nice solution.
Yeah, very interesting. And I see now there are two strategies in this field. Because what is the big risk of automating these processes? You reduce the touch points with the customer. And I think here is a big difference to industry, because you don't need these touch points in a warehouse or production area. But in a hotel or restaurant, I mean, at the end, you make money with this customer experience.
Exactly.
And if you know modern hotels, they even automated the whole check-in procedure.
Yeah.
So you will speak with a robot already there. Then if you order food, a robot will bring the food. You have no human interaction anymore.
Yeah.
So this is the one stream. And what I see in other hotels, they had experiments with this automation, like a check-in machine, for example, and now they moved back because of the bad customer feedback. Because if you are traveling, you are maybe alone already, and then even in the hotel, nobody's talking to you. Yeah, and you have not get the chance to get feedback from your customers, because the mobile robot will not talk much. That's an issue, which maybe can be overcome somehow. But if the waiter is bringing the food, you can already have a little chat. And maybe, the air conditioning is not working well. And you get this feedback. Now with mobile robots, not anymore.
So true. Very interesting point. So I think hotels and restaurants, interesting, but let's see how the customer experience part will reflect into mobile robot applications. So definitely an interesting field. But maybe let's move back to those classic industries we've been talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I can already reveal that the second biggest industry to continue investing into mobile robots will be automotive.
Okay.
So they are just roughly around 30% of capital spending over the next 5 years for these applications. So still continuously high level of automation with mobile robots we're gonna see. But the third one is actually a surprise for me, and it's gonna be life sciences, healthcare, and pharmaceuticals.
Okay. Because probably they also have a high standardization degree
Yeah,
in their processes and a lot of manpower involved in transporting these goods in between these process steps.
yeah. So for pharmaceuticals, I
for
fully
sure.
agree. I mean, it's like an automotive chip manufacturing
right.
facility, right? There is like thousands of pieces or boxes coming down the line. But I think with healthcare, it's quite interesting. So healthcare, I would equal with hospitals, for
Yeah.
example, or retirement homes, whatever, which actually have quite standardized processes. Just imagine transporting the food from the kitchen to the guests, so to say, or the patients.
Yeah, right. And there you have to do it every day to
Every
all
day.
guests.
Exactly.
And 3 times per day at
Exactly.
least.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a different story in the hotel. Yeah.
Right. So you have very, very clear also time frames and very clear routes. Nothing of that changes a lot. Same with the transport of beds, for example, right?
Ah, yeah, right. Interesting. Yeah.
From surgery back to the regular nursing station. So this is also quite similar. But what I read and what I think was quite interesting is that hospitals quite often are run by the state or the government, at least here in Europe, and they have a certain budget for running the operations. And one of the inhibitors why they didn't go for mobile robots is that the mobile robots investment in a hotel is competing with the investment for medical equipment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what they would
Yeah.
go for is a new, I don't know, like a X-ray machine, for example, instead of buying 15 mobile robots. And that apparently was one of the biggest inhibitors in the past. And I'm very curious to see on how this trend or this hurdle will continue to evolve in this healthcare business.
Yeah, at the end, a mindset change is required also there. I mean, I think everybody will agree that transporting beds is not a value add task in a hospital. So you should
Yeah.
automate it,
Yeah.
right? And you should not compete with the X-ray
Machine.
machine. Yes.
Yeah, especially with the shortage of labor. I mean,
Yes.
all hospitals complain about a lack of nurses, a lack of logistics personnel as well, right? And I think this is going to be huge in the next years. So I can totally refer to what McKinsey found out here, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But let's move on to another industry which actually surprised me
Okay.
by its quite, I would say, low investment here in comparison to what they have done in the past. And that's food and beverage. So they're only on the 4th place in this study here, investing roughly 24% of capital for automation.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering why they don't really continue pushing.
Is this food and beverage logistics, or what is meant by that?
I guess it's production, and I think it's like on-site operations they have. So I don't think it's the last mile to bring the drinks to the store or to the restaurant. It's more about maybe also yard operations, which they have with tons of bottles standing around in the yard.
That's very surprising.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when we think about our typical questions, do they have standardized processes? Yes. Yeah. Is logistics run by a lot of people? Also, yes.
yeah.
Maybe we should invite an expert from food and beverage to explain that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's for sure a surprise.
Yeah, for me as well. And I do not really find a quick answer to that. So maybe your idea is the right one, to have someone in our podcast who is familiar with this business and maybe provide us some explanations on why this figure might be lower than it was. Good. And then finally in this list here is retail and consumer goods as the last one. Roughly around 17 to 18% of capital spending.
The last one,
Yep.
it's also a big surprise for me.
Retail and consumer goods. But if I think about retail, like a supermarket or something,
Yeah,
do you see a lot of cases there?
not yet, but if we look into the future, why should we not fill up supermarket shelves with mobile robots? And it's also a low margin business. Maybe the solutions are not yet ready.
But you mean fill them up with like a combination of a mobile robot and a cobot on top of it, like really
Yeah.
filling the shelf? Or is it rather an underwriter AGV having a shelf, ready picked shelf on top of it and just driving to a certain parking spot in the supermarket and standing there until the shelf is empty?
Yeah, maybe we have to rethink retail processes. For sure, I'm not an expert in this field, but this might be a huge potential which is not yet, found, right?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe just to round it off, and I think we are already somewhat in the middle of this discussion, but do you think that high process maturity is a must to automate, or is it just a nice to have?
I would say it's a big enabler, and if you have it, it's great. It makes your life during the implementation of mobile robots much easier. But it's not a prerequisite. And this is thanks to new solutions, to autonomous robots, smart robots who can find their way on their own, who can take decisions even on their own. And so I would say it's great if you have it, but it's absolutely not a must anymore. And I would even say since a couple of years, this is a big change in the mobile robots game.
All right. So due to the, let's say, rising capabilities of mobile robots, process maturity might become a lower hurdle to be taken to be able to automate using these devices.
Absolutely. Yeah, this for sure a conclusion.
Yeah. And I really also love the example you mentioned with those little service bots running in restaurants, which of course has some kind of standardization because there is fixed tables which need to be served, but still you have so much unpredictable stuff happening in between.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not an automotive production line.
No.
Right? You have kids running around there, maybe even dogs.
Yeah.
And these are also AMRs, and they're using the same technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the floors are wet or dirty or whatever, right? And they still have to manage it. So that might be a little bit of a finger pointer into the future of automation with mobile robots, which maybe today are sometimes seen too strict
Yeah.
and maybe also simply too orthodox, I would say, with people always persisting on first having the perfect physical process, which of course is not a disadvantage, but which is maybe not the needed foundation to really go that way.
I think these new use cases in these new industries, or let's say environments, are have the potential to enrich the whole mobile robot story a lot. So from automotive, we can learn, also how the mobile robot behaves in a restaurant, and if we learn from this use case, also for our industrial use cases, I think we can uncover many more potentials.
That's great final words, Olli.
Yes.
So, if you are doubting that your industry or your particular business is mature enough, then take a closer look at it and don't be too orthodox about it. Just open up for different solutions, different options, and maybe also invite some experts to consult you before you do your move. I think it's worth the investment and might help to prevent some bad investment, so to say.
That's the perfect conclusion of this episode, I would say.
Then we should quickly end it before we spoil this great end. So thanks again for joining us in today's episode. We are looking forward to next Monday. Hopefully see you again then. And we wish you a great rest of the day. Take care and hear you soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This was another episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. Visit us at automation-awakenings.com.